Today I want to talk about a little game called Octopath Traveler. This is a turn-based RPG with one of the coolest, most unique looking art styles that I've ever seen before. Probably the first thing that you'll notice about this game is how awesome the art style looks. It's a very unique looking game and it's really unlike anything that I've ever seen before. The developers Square Enix say that it's a mix of CG mixed with pixel art, and it makes something that they like to call 2D HD or something like that. It's basically 2D pixel art mixed with 3D kind of HD graphics. Honestly, it looks really cool, and it's really unlike anything that I've personally ever seen before. Now the game isn't actually out yet, but there is a demo on the Nintendo eShop that you can actually download and play completely free. It seems to be a pretty lengthy demo, so I guess it's just gonna show how much depth there actually is gonna be to this game and how much there's actually gonna be able to do, which is a really good sign if you're going to have a lot of stuff to do. But it really reminds me of Pokemon. I think that's kind of the first thing that pops into my mind. The music even sounds like Pokemon music.
It's you who be dying. Look about you. We have
Maybe that's just me, but for some reason the soundtrack in this game has a really kind of Pokemon vibe to it, and I really like it. As well, with the turn-based combat, there is an option to be able to pretty much go up to any character in the game and battle them, which I think is really cool. The only person that you can't actually battle is the save guy, which is this guy in a green costume that you can save your game from. That's literally the only way you can actually save your game, which is kind of annoying, or I thought it was going to be kind of annoying, but this guy shows up pretty much everywhere. He shows up around every single corner, so you're gonna really have no problem finding this guy to be able to save your game. Initially I actually thought it was gonna be this guy was gonna like run about the place and you're gonna have to chase after him, and he's gonna show up randomly at different locations and you have to go out and search for this guy just to save your game, which would have been extremely annoying, and I'm really glad that they didn't do that. So it's not too annoying since the guy shows up pretty much around every corner, as I said, and he stays still. It's pretty easy to remember where his locations are and just walk up to him and save. You won't have to actually run too far to be able to save your game, which is something that I really like. Of course, I would prefer to be able to save my game on the fly, like in a game like Skyrim, where you can just hit the pause button, quick save, and you're ready to go again. I really prefer games just allow you to save whenever the hell you want, but I guess the system is still better than having some guy running around like a chicken with his head cut off and having to run after him. That would be extremely annoying. But initially, whenever you start up the game, you're going to immediately notice that you have to use your right stick to control like this little feather. It's kind of like a mouse, which is really cool. I actually like games, specifically console games, that interpret this, because I really like having a little pointer like that. I don't know, maybe this is a personal preference. I know a lot of people that get very annoyed by that. I know some people that played Destiny and Destiny 2 that really didn't like that, but personally I find it pretty fun, and I don't know, there's something about it. Maybe it's just a personal preference for me, but I think it's cool. It just gives the game kind of a bit more of a sleek, professional feel to it, or a look, and there's something about it that I like. Now this game really reminds me of an old school style of RPG. Like I said, something like Pokemon, which is not bad at all. I actually think it's really cool. Now, unlike Pokemon, of course, you can't actually capture your enemies and capture them and just like carry them around with you. There is a mechanic though, which really pisses me off and actually really just makes me not want to get this game, is the fact that, like in Pokemon, whenever you're walking about, you can run into enemies, and I hate that so much. Of course you can't just run away, and as far as I'm aware, you will pretty much always get away, but I still absolutely hate the fact that you can just be walking along, minding your own business, just trying to take in how the game looks, because as I said, it has a very unique and awesome look to it. So I just like to walk about and just kind of take in how awesome this game looks, and take in how it looks and just everything around you. And then this happens and you're thrown into a battle against usually two people or two things. I don't even know what these things are, these rock bat things. I actually can't even remember what they look like, but they're weird monster style of things, which is kind of annoying. Personally, that's just something that I always hated about Pokemon. I don't like the fact that whenever I'm trying to walk somewhere, I randomly get caught out by something, and I'm thrown into a battle where I'm basically forced to battle this thing. Of course I can't run away, but especially when you can't even run away, that's extremely annoying in Pokemon. I think the way Pokemon does it doesn't really bother me all that much, but in this game, the thing is, you can walk pretty much anywhere. There doesn't seem to be specific spots where you run into enemies. Like in Pokemon, if you walk through the long grass, that's pretty much the only time you will find Pokemon. I believe in caves and different things as well, you can run into them. But you know, if you stay away from the long grass, you're going to be fine, and that's something really cool. Of course, to get to a certain destination, you do have to walk through long grass at certain points, but I still like the way that I can play the game and I can see basically where I have a chance to run into enemies. If I'm walking about the town and I'm walking about and I know that I'm not in long grass, I know I'm not going to be running into something. In this game, it just seems to be very random. I can't really tell what ground I need to walk on to stay away from these guys. It does seem like in the town area that you're in, where your home is and all the shops and different things are, you can't actually run into bad guys, which is something I guess useful. It'll be very annoying if you're just trying to walk around the town trying to get to the shop or your house or whatever, and suddenly you're thrown into a battle, which would be extremely annoying. Thank God it's not like that. But I think I would just prefer to leave this feature out, because it is kind of annoying when I just want to walk about, take in how awesome the game looks, and I'm randomly thrown into a battle. Now I want to talk a bit about the combat here. Now, the combat is turn-based, which I personally don't like very much. I've always been more of a fan of action RPGs compared to turn-based, but I gotta say the combat in this game is still kind of fun. It's definitely different. I actually really like it. You have a lot of different things going on at once, and once you start to learn it a bit more, you can notice how much there is to the combat. Could I say there's a lot of different things to the combat. I'm sure you can unlock more abilities, and I'm sure with different characters. I've only tried out the male character. I know there is another like dancer kind of girl character that you can play with in the demo, and there's another 6 characters that will be available in the full game. So I imagine with maybe different characters you might get different abilities, or maybe you can buy different abilities in shops or unlock them somehow. I'm not 100% sure how that works. I haven't played the game enough or really seen enough to be able to answer that, but I can say there is a lot of depth to the combat. From what I can see, there seems to be a good bit of depth. There's an ability where you can attack every single enemy at once, which is extremely useful. Right now I seem to be stuck in this like big bad guy. I'm not gonna really talk about him much, but I'm fighting this guy and he's so hard to kill. So he's very hard because he has so much health. I was sitting there hitting him with like my highest damage attack, and I was like, there's like an ability where you can kind of like bring this, kind of like as an animation of kind of like a fire or a ring around you, and it basically powers you up, so your next attack is going to do pretty much like 2 or 3 times the amount of damage that you normally do. And I kept doing that to this guy, and this guy has like 6 shields or something. I kept doing that over and over and over and over again, and not one of his shield broke. But it does seem like there's a lot of depth to the combat, and the game is quite difficult, but I think it's a good difficulty. Initially, whenever you do start off getting into the combat, it's very easy, but quickly things are going to ramp up and you're going to notice things are quite harder. And especially whenever you run into things out in the wild, you're going to notice that these things are quite hard to kill, and while you learn the combat, you're gonna get more familiar with how it works. There is like a health potion and a potion that basically powers your abilities, so you have to take them to make sure that your health is up enough, and if you want to use different abilities, you need to fill up this blue bar to be able to use more of your abilities, which is a kind of cool extra dynamic in there. And whenever you do use a health potion or the potion to fill up your blue ability bar, it does take a turn, so keep that in mind. Make sure you heal yourself at the right time. Don't heal yourself like too soon or too late, because then you're just going to be wasting your heal potion. So you have to be very strategic, and there is a lot of different things that go into the combat. There's even a boost thing where you can like boost yourself up to 4 times, so you can do like 4 attacks in one, which is pretty cool. It does a lot of damage, and from what I can see in the game, it seems to have a lot of depth to the combat and is actually pretty satisfying, especially coming from someone who doesn't really like turn-based style of combat. But yeah, I think I'm going to end the video here. I'm not too sure if I am going to get the game. As I said, I really don't like the way you run into enemies randomly. I think that is a real off-putter for me, and especially considering the fact that it is turn-based, I think that whole situation just kind of annoys me, them two mixed together. I don't know, it's a really cool game, and if it was an action combat RPG, I would definitely say, yeah, I'm buying this game, because there's a lot of cool RPG elements, and if you're a big fan of RPGs, specifically turn-based RPGs, and if you're a fan of something like Pokemon, you're probably going to love this game. As I said, even the soundtrack sounds like Pokemon, and I think it's a very fun game, especially if you're someone who is a big RPG fan. Anyway guys, hopefully you guys did enjoy, and yeah, I'll hopefully see you guys next one. Peace out.